considering all of this, you've been on this incredible journey from starting out being told you're not even suited for this career and decided that you're going to make it your career. What advice do you have for anybody who's out there to get over those insecurities, get over the fears, get over the singing fears, not just singing in the shower, bringing it out there, bringing their voice out there, allowing themselves to be heard, getting past ridicule, inner ridicule, external ridicule? What advice do you have for them to feel better about themselves and really express themselves?
There's a lot of layers to that, but I'll start with this. If you think of some of the top scientists in the world, when they had an idea, most of their other colleagues laughed at them. So it wasn't just people in a group setting at school. It was other top influential, intelligent people who had been to the best schools in the world, who've been studying, religiously every single day, proving their things, all laughing at someone saying, what you're saying is crazy. And then usually what that person who was said to be crazy turns out to be right. Now, not in all cases. Some people are crazy. They're crazy. And we see that a lot, what's happening in social media right now. There's just a lot of crazy people running around. But in the sense of, let's say, what your question was, I think, and this is, I'm trying to simplify this because, and I'll tell you the reason why I'm trying to simplify. I worked with an artist recently, and I said, you have to get to that place where you have this limited lifetime, right? You have a span, let's say. And in this span, you can choose to do something that you can truly master and love and be passionate about. And I want to make sure that you're doing music because it's that thing and not because it's going to try to fulfill some insecurities that you have. And you're going to tell the people, look, I made it, but it's not really the thing. Because the worst possible outcome in my position to help you as a mentor is to see you spend the next 10 years doing something that you actually don't love the most. I'd rather you go out and find that thing that you love the most and just do music as a hobby rather than go all in on this music thing, realize you're not cut out for it because you don't actually want to put in the time. You don't actually want to exude this kind of energy. You don't want to practice. You don't want to perform. You don't want to do these things at the level that's going to take. If you really like cooking, go cook. I'd rather you find that thing, because what I tend to see is a lot of people think of the shininess of something and therefore go for it. I see this a lot in today's society where a lot of people are like gurus. There's a lot of people who sell this idea that they're a guru of something, but they've only been doing it for 5 years. And I'm like, there's no one should even say the word guru unless you've been doing it for like 30 years. There's no way you can have that much information and that much fail testing, like test, fail, to get so far from the pack. That's a lifetime thing. And so I see a lot of people who pretend really good on social media branding, and then I meet them in real life and their lives are falling apart. And so it's the same thing with music, where I wouldn't say go all in on something unless that is your soul's calling. And I'm not saying that in a hippie way. I'm talking about your actual soul, which you have to understand is more than a metaphor. It's an actual thing. And if that thing is calling for music, if that thing can't go a day without a melody, without hearing music in your heart, if you speak in terms of music, if you see the world like that, yeah, that's a different thing. Go all in. And I think you have to get to that point to know if it is or not. That's, to me, the first thing. And I guarantee there's a lot of people who are technically successful in music who don't abide by what I just said, but making money and living out a soul's passion are two different things. So I'd rather someone live a soul's passion, and you'll find money along the way and all the other things. So I would say that's the first part, is figure out what that is for you, whoever the person might be listening to this, if they're trying to figure those things out. Find your soul's passion. Get in alignment with that. Because once you're in alignment with that, synchronicities happen a lot easier and they're more impactful, because it tends to be like when you say something, you really mean it. And then other people really believe it. And then that starts to spread, and that energetic information of who you are and what you really abide by start to spread a lot faster. Now, as far as the part of fears, I would also say that anything that's worthwhile is going to be scary. So get to that point when, if you feel fear, realize it's also can be branded as excitement. It's the same exact release of chemicals. And if you could take that excitement and use excitement as propulsion into putting you into situations where they're going to be fearful, but then once you do it, you learned a lot. And if you love learning, then you're always going to be constantly growing. And so I think be passionate about constantly learning, which means constantly putting yourself in places and predicaments that are going to be a little bit uncomfortable. Because everything, when you say growing pains, the reason why your body goes through growing pains is because it's uncomfortable. You know, there's a pain that happens when you are a little bit uncomfortable. And in that pain, if you can find a little bit of solace and meaning and passion and love for that small pain, then every single day you'll be a version of yourself that actually has more compound value for yourself and for others. So I think as long as you can put those things together, your soul's passion, being aligned. So when you say something, you have true intention, removal of manipulation, removal of tactics that actually will sabotage you in the long run. And then making sure that the fear is, you want a little bit of that, and you want to put yourself in positions that you might fail a little bit. So you have to practice more. You have to put yourself in that and be okay with failing, because if you're not failing, you're not growing. So I think a lot of times in this society, people are trying to avoid failure at all costs. So they have a lot of these measurements of perfection. And if you go for perfection all the time, you're never actually going to create spontaneity of creativity, because you're thinking like it has to be perfect. But some of the most beautiful things through all of art are like a little bit crooked. And if you look at the Mona Lisa, if you look at like, you know, some of these some amazing painters like Basquiat or something, if you're looking at them, there's things are a little crooked, and that's what made it so beautiful. So perfection should not be the archetype that people are going for. It should be resonation. That should be the highest form of contentment.